this aspect of education and the creation is done by an individual whose background is incontrovertible, and her research background is one of which has never been compared to. And trust me, I've tried. And she has a different perspective on the world. So the beautiful part is today, with the beginning of this university process, we get to talk about one of the formulations that is born out of necessity, but also desire. And this is your introduction to Give Me Back My Youth. Welcome.
Welcome. And that was a lot about me. And I do want to say that Root University is an educational platform. We may offer even CME credits later. We're looking into that, but it will be education from not just a science perspective, not just a medical perspective, but there will also be trainings, as I said earlier, in sales and marketing. But today we're combining both of those because you guys have already launched Give Me Back My Youth without the actual training. And I know that Clayton and Patrick and Ted and the rest of the leadership have been talking about it. But today I wanted to take the opportunity to really get in to why it was so important to do a collagen and colostrum collaboration, and really what we were looking at. Many of you guys know that I was an inventor of a patent. And if you look at the patent, it doesn't really talk about nuclear waste and viruses and stuff right away. If you look it up online, if you Googled it, it would talk about the fact that the patents reverse the aging process of the skin, hair, nails, and the cells. I don't make that claim about the stuff we do, but I will tell you that when I look at what I want to work with, that's a very important factor to me, because I understand that even though children are born imperfect, that the age of the cell usually will determine how much you can support or not support an immune system. That's a completely different discussion. I don't want to get too much into it, but that's why the telomeres, the pathways of eradication of negative things, the reversal of aging is so important. We can't make those claims again when it comes to these products, but when I look at the research behind what we will introduce, knowing that we've been living in a pandemic where there's constant different attacks on our body, and I've said this before, I feel like we're at war. I know that the primary goal has got to be activating that immune system, activating cellular health, and reviving everything and supporting it. So when I went to work on this particular product, it was really important to create a proprietary blend of collagen and colostrum that no one had done before, so that we could impact each person's body along with the rest of the formulas or as a standalone.
So a couple things that are really important here. One, Give Me Back My Youth actually has no comparison. Isn't it? No, it's true.
No, it doesn't.
No one's ever done this before. No one has ever combined these two powerful ingredients. Step one. Step two, the impact and the power that Give Me Back My Youth has and can have is not something that is done individually. As you understand with the Trinity and ReLive, they are designed to work together. So one of the key components to this is using products in combination, and you'll see that as we go through. But Clean Slate actually creates a massive catalytic, or is it catalytic? It's not, it's catalytic. A catalyst. Is it catalytic?
Yeah.
A catalytic response because of the bioavailable silica in combination with the amino acids that are broken down from collagen, which we'll get in. They're crucial to have together. So what we're looking at, we're going to talk about the science specifically of Give Me Back My Youth, but you also have to understand the importance of the combination.
Okay, so I have some good news for everyone, and thank you for saying that, Clay, because I do want to say we are helping the body, and this is what I always say about our products. We're not making claims because we're helping the body support itself so that it can help the cells and help the body not age as quickly, or hopefully reverse it, which is what the literature shows behind some of the products that and ingredients that we work on. But I want to show this. I just want to say this because everyone kept saying we need cruelty-free. We need cruelty-free. So I kept going back and demanded to know how each of the animals were treated. I actually ended up finding out, and we can share this with you guys later, that they were part of a food animal protection plan, which you have to follow all these steps. And we can share that with you guys later, but we were allowed to use the cruelty-free brand. And we did get the whole protocol. We're gonna have to. Hey guys, please mute yourselves if you.
Can you mute everybody?
We love hearing kids, but I would go ahead and mute everyone, Patrick.
I got it.
Just so that we can get
and
through
then
it.
if you get one strike in my classroom, here's the rule. You do it once, you get muted. You do it twice, we're just gonna kick you out.
Okay, Clayton, I don't do that.
That's how we run class.
Okay. So I don't do that, but that's Clayton's rule and he's in here with me today. So I guess that's what we're doing. But if you guys can look at this, I want you to see how many gluten-free, halal testing, the cruelty-free, all the different things that you can see, natural, organic, et cetera, that came from this particular ingredient and this particular product. And again, that's really hard to get. You won't see that in a lot of your collagen and colostrum formulas, but I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out. And this is the actual label. It does go into the warning about consulting. Can we not mute everyone? Because this is going to keep happening.
I'm not.
Okay, Patrick, please mute everyone.
And make it so they can't unmute until they're.
So this is something that I thought was extremely important. You know, I want to say this, and we can go to the next slide, Patrick. Collagen.
I want to hit on a couple things on this before we go through real quick. Just
Okay.
ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
Go back real quick. Whoops. So you went over the cruelty free, but when we look at the right side, the supplement facts, it's 2 ingredients. That's it.
2,000 milligrams each.
No additives.
Nothing.
Why not?
Because I wanted a formula that did not have what a lot of the companies have. Guys, give us 1 second. I'm sorry, because I know we're recording this and it's just got to be muted. I don't know what's.
All right.
Now unmute yourself because for some reason it just muted you guys again.
Now we're good. So 2 ingredients, only 2, no additives, nothing else. How and why is that possible?
Because if you can make a formula the right way with the right way of manufacturing and producing the formula, you don't need a lot of additives or any. So for example, most people that buy collagen and colostrum are in these big tubs, just like most people that buy the greens or the protein are in these big tubs. That's not how I typically make products because of my background and how I'm used to manufacturing and formulating. I just condense it and use it in a pure form so people can use it without all these additives. Because one of the things that I learned actually from being in skincare when I worked at Biogen IDEC, I first worked in immunology and dermatology and then moved over to oncology and neurology. But at first what I learned is there's all these formulas that doctors use or scientists make, and they have a bunch of stuff in it. And sometimes it's not needed. Sometimes it is. And later, when you guys see what we will end up launching as a skincare line, there's a lot of natural ingredients. But a lot of times when you make something, if you know how to make it in the right process to formulate it so that it has at least a 2-year shelf life, which is the key. I like to do 7 years, but I can't make that claim. So I always say 2 years. If you make it the right way, sometimes you can leave out all of the different additives. And that's really what I was able to do with this particular formula.
And you took the ingredients, you're looking at 2,000 milligrams, so 2 grams of hydrolyzed bovine collagen and 2 grams of whole colostrum powder, which is more than the majority of the products on the market. Why a 1-to-1 combination and why the dosage that high per serving?
Well, because again, I used a condensed. So if you look at it, you're taking, less than 1 teaspoon.
Or a
Yeah.
teaspoon.
Per day, or equal to a teaspoon, but it's condensed. And I wanted to be able to give equal to equal, because when you look at collagen, and I've had this question asked a lot, if you can really find a hydrolyzed bovine collagen that's made from a pure source, and of course now we have all these different icons that show how safely this was made and how purely it was made. If you can source the animals, for example, where you know there's not gluten that they're eating, you know that there's not wheat that has been exposed to GMOs, et cetera, and then you can take care of the animals, you're able to really produce this pure form. I wanted this strong protein that would be able to be utilized to really heal and assist the body in healing the intestines as well as the other organs in the body. And at the same time, I did want something that would activate the hair, the skin, the nails, the electricity. I wanted to support the overall anti-aging process. And since that's very hard to make those claims until we get more case studies, I wanted to launch with something that was so pure that people would immediately get results within 30 days. Usually within a couple of weeks, they would see a difference when they used it, so we could do the before and after pictures, which is why I want to tell the root community, please do before and after pictures for me so we can do case studies before you take this product, and then 2 weeks to 30 days after you take the product. I really want you guys to see your hair, your skin, your nails, and everything else.
Because there is a synergy between collagen and colostrum. Well, each of them is amazing in their benefits, which we're going to touch on. The important part is actually bringing them together in combination.
Yes, it's like us.
Oh.
No, it is. You know, each of those are strong on their own. Now, a lot of people don't even know about colostrum. And it's something that I've spent a lot of time educating people on recently, but it's very, very important. We do know more about collagen as a population because we've been citing lately in the scientific community how important collagen is. And so I knew that we needed to get the best collagen, but I also knew that if we could find something that was equally strong in the colostrum, we really would produce something that was different than anything in the market.
So when you take collagen, you know, people are promoting collagen for its benefits, but when you consume collagen, right, if we love pho, right, so you're getting bone broth and you're getting, you know, beef collagen and cartilage, and you know the best form of bovine collagen is actually from the sinew of between the hide and muscle, as long as it's extracted properly, which we have. When someone's taking or ingesting collagen, their body isn't just using the collagen and putting it to work. The body is actually breaking down your stomach is breaking apart that collagen into the amino acid profile. And then those amino acids then are assimilated into the body to be created into collagen in the body where it can be used. But it needs that catalyst of bioavailable silica to go along with it, correct?
Yes, which I know you're going to point out that that's why I made Clean Slate.
You just did.
It was not the only reason, obviously, I made Clean Slate, but it is one of the things that led me to understand that I needed to pull out the silica, because silica is one of the healing properties if you can make it from a natural source. The problem is, and I've said this before, a lot of silicon dioxide and silica is not good because it's used for alternative things that's made from a synthetic source. This is not the case with Clean Slate. With this particular formula, it's a perfect partner. You're right. You know, you look at collagen and how important it is to the body and the immune system, and it's a building block, right, for everything. And then when you look at colostrum, which we can go to that slide now, you look at how you really boost immunity and how you promote a digestive system and you strengthen the gut. But I want to point this out, and I'm sure Clay's looking at this. My biggest thing were the growth factors and the antibodies. You know, I know how important it is, if you can, for a mother to breastfeed her child. And, you know, a lot of people think it stops at that, but the truth is you can get this breast fluid from other mammals. And we know that cows, if you can source them the right way, and if they're treated right, and they can feed their young, but yet you're utilizing this, you're able to give the protein to humans that can help the body and assist the body with fighting infections and bacteria. And it's not on this slide, but not just bacteria. You can really assist the body at promoting that immune system and really regulating the immune response and actually promoting growth and growth hormones, which really helps again with the anti-aging properties, as well as producing antibodies that can fight any kind of infection, whether it's bacterial or viral. And again, I'm so careful because I know this is such a major product. I was very careful too when Clean Slate launched. We don't want to make those claims, but we want to show you guys what these ingredients can do if you're taking it at the right dose and if it's made the right way. One of the reasons I don't like a lot of the colostrum and collagen and proteins that are out there is if you look at them, they've got all these different synthetics that they then put around a patent or proprietary formula. I really wanted to have the purest formula possible and to do something that no one else had done so that we could support more people.
So you have to highlight one specific word on the first line of the statement, and that's the word before, because it is colostrum that is made before breast milk. It is colostrum that in human breast milk is what a mother is generating for the first 2 weeks after a baby is born, because it is the antibodies, it is the growth factors, it is the components of colostrum that actually heals and creates the closed gut lining of a baby that also generates the process to create their entire immune system. That's the key of colostrum. So like you're hitting on, if you're in a compromised immune state, which we all are, whether it's due to environment, whether it's due to stress, any other components, high quality colostrum is actually going to be supportive, not only in the regeneration of your gut, of your immune system, and proper systemic activation and control of your immune system when it's needed, not becoming overactive, but becoming properly controlled.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I want to bring this up. The bioactives of colostrum are so important. So when I used to work in the industry where we made immunoglobulins, which were not, we would use IgG, but usually it was not purely made and artificial.
Those were drugs.
Yep, they're drugs. And I was one of the scientists that worked on different things like that. It's really important that you help when you're treating different diseases or autoimmune disorders, chronic and acute. You need often these antibodies in the bloodstream that can really fight. And it's a first line defense. So, anytime your body is approached by a virus, bacteria, parasites, heavy metals, you've got to have this defense. And I say this all the time. Our bodies were naturally made to get rid and eradicate bad things and support good things. But the problem is we've been exposed to so many toxins and harmful things that sometimes our bodies won't block it and it crosses the barrier. And I say this all the time, once it's crossed that barrier and the epigenetic is unleashed, and then this inflammatory cascade happens, it's a lot harder to reverse it. So I think one of the things that I want to point out about colostrum, it's not just something to help the body, the skin, the hair, that's also something to help that day, not just reversing or not just your past and what you're dealing with, but for the future to block something that's trying to cross the barrier. Another thing I really do want to point out is I worked, for years in an industry where we would create something that's a human monoclonal antibody that would go in and target something negative to destroy it, which is one thing they do with vaccines and antivirals. But, those can end up hurting you too. So from a perspective as a scientist, being able to give people a product that also is known to have lactoferrin, which is something that goes in, and again, this isn't synthetic, it naturally basically will recruit cells and it will get rid of disease-causing particles. That was extremely important to me. I could talk about growth factors all day long, but the first two, before you even get into your regeneration properties of colostrum, those first two are really important, in my opinion, to an entire immune system and daily living.
And when you look at the growth factors, right, when you start to get into tissue regeneration, and as we were talking about the collagen with the amino acids, which are crucial in that, when you add in Restore for what it's working to do to also benefit the gut and kill off some of the mold and the fungus and such, create a good environment, but also the amino acid profile that's also found in ReLive is going to be extremely complementary of working with those growth factors for tissue regeneration or systemic regeneration.
Absolutely. And I want to point this out because I'm scared I'm going to forget later. It may be in this deck. We're giving you guys a lot of information because we know that you want it. So we're going to skip around a bit, but I wanted you guys to know, a lot of your collagens and colostrums talk about how they help you lose weight, but then people notice they gain weight, and that's because there's so many additives. If you can take, though, the positive characteristics of colostrum and collagen and not add these other synthetics, you really have something known to really support the body and functioning at an optimal level where your body naturally is burning more and getting rid of more fat cells, et cetera, and actually turning those into something that's productive for the body, which I think is
Which
one
is muscle or
yeah,
connective tissue.
which collagen is really good at that because collagen goes in and through its bioactive components, I know, it helps heal and it helps promote the growth as well. So I think, glycerin, which is one of the main things in the collagen.
Glycine.
Sorry, I said
So we can go
glycerin.
to the next slide.
We need to go a little bit quicker because there's so many. I can't even say it because you know how I am, glycine.
Well, it's like running with the wolf pack.
I know. Glutathione, I can finally say.
Glutathione?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can you say sternocleidomastoid?
No.
Oh.
I can say proximal nocturnal hemoglobinuria.
And that's a win for
I
most.
worked for that company. It took me 2 years to even say it. What I know is glutathione, and he knows it's very important to produce that in the body. And one of the main bioactives, glycine, or I can't say it.
Oh, you did it.
Is the one that really helps the body do that and produce it, which really helps with stress, damage, and DNA, protecting the proteins, protecting that. You guys know when I talk about DNA, you've got genetics, and then you've got this epigenetic. You really have got to protect your body. One of the things that was huge for me when all this stuff came out with everything going on was knowing that there are different things that can cause these epigenetics, and then your imprinting of the DNA is carried out generationally. It was really important to me to find different things that could protect people's bodies. And I say this all the time, you've got to produce these blockades, right? So this is one of the blockades I'm always talking about. If you can have the body produce these amino acid essentials that will really help fight these radicals and protect the body against the damage, against the outside attacks, you can really have something that works effectively. And I always say this, of course, I'm concerned about nutrition and the skin and the hair, which is proline and everything that goes along with the synthesis of that. But I think your main component, you can go back to this, and I want to go back to it again. Glutathione, when you use that, we know it was one of the components that was used to really fight certain viruses, right? So when you saw a lot of people come out with that during the current pandemic, that's why. And I saw amazing data, and everyone kept talking to me about it. And I was like, well, we have some of it in the products we have currently, but we have something else coming out that's a very strong key component of
and
that.
the key thing with glutathione, when you look at it, is glutathione is not something you want to take as an IV. It's not something that you want to take as a supplement. It's what you need to do is put the body in a position where it can start producing it. There's a little secret. Glutathione production is shut off in the body by mercury. So the one heavy metal that is primarily glutathione's focus to remove is also the heavy metal that shuts off your body's ability to produce it because it is that nefarious. So as you're starting to remove the mercury, i.e. clean slate, and you add in glycine from Give Me Back My Youth, and you add in the other amino acid profile that is provided in ReLive Greens in conjunction with the little components of the bioavailable silica found in clean slate, you're cleaning out your system, you're providing the key components that your body needs to produce endogenous glutathione and turn on that glutathione factory that we are. It's just creating the right healthy environment, because you can't supplement with something that your body should be producing naturally, much like taking a lot of hormones. That if you take a lot of hormones, you're actually telling your body not to produce it anymore because it begins to think you're going to continually provide it.
That's true. And doctors that give hormones don't usually say that. It's okay to take hormones, but you need to understand that. Once you start taking them, then your body really shutting off that mechanism. And it's really important that you understand all of these things you can be given in an IV, which Clayton and I have a little bit of a different opinion. And I saw Verna's text about that. There's different opinions about whether you should have an IV or you should take something daily. The reason he said that about an IV is you have to be careful anytime you put something into your system directly. And now I've worked on a lot of IV formulas, so sometimes you need that, but to daily build up different things in your body and to promote the body to naturally do things it needs to do by giving it the right key ingredients, we know long-term it is better. Short-term, sometimes it's okay to do different types of IVs, but long-term, like with quercetin and NAD, which is in one of our products we're going to launch this year, I've done IVs before and I've loved them, but it's important to do stuff daily so you can build it up in the system and it can support the system. So for example, hydroxyproline, which is the last one that's on here, if you really look at that, it decreases the fine lines and wrinkles. So you could use that also in different formulas that are given through an IV. They don't usually have that on the IV, but they use a component of it. But to really long-term affect your body, you want to continuously give stuff. And, you know, I want to point this out because I don't want people not to know this. People are going to use this on their skin. And when they say that they do notice a huge difference, absolutely, they're going to notice it. We're not promoting it for skin, but we already have a lot of people like Birgit and different individuals that have contacted us. I think Sophie and Regina that have really liked it on their skin.
So how would you do that if you were going to make just a little nighttime serum, say with we'll just say a little bit of Give Me Back My Youth and maybe a drop or so of Clean Slate.
Yeah.
And would you just make a
you
little
could,
bit of a paste?
Yeah,
and
but
just,
you could even use apple cider vinegar. You could use your Restore with it. You could also do the ReLive.
Which there's apple cider vinegar in Restore to help create some of them.
Yeah.
Quantum nano emulsions that you do in there.
Once you add that, if you add it, especially, and if you look
so
at
you're
Restore,
opening up.
Yeah, and Restore, I'm going to tell you guys, I hate to keep going back to this, but Restore for my face, because of all the issues I have, you guys that saw me in Europe probably noticed it was coming back a little bit, one of the spots on my nose, because I had so much cancer. If I don't put Restore on it, and we can't promote it for that, but if I don't, it comes back, and Clay knows it. So I just have to constantly do that. Restore is a major great thing for me, and I think it's because of the black cumin seed, the aloe vera, which is known to heal, and the resveratrol, the raspberry. I mean, it's just a fantastic formula.
So if you took a little bit of that with a little bit of Give Me Back My Youth and maybe a drop of Clean Slate, did that and just gave yourself a little.
But even if you just use, just so you guys know, an olive oil or avocado oil, it would act as a kind of catalyst too, and it would help. So you could just put it around the eyes, or put it around your mouth, or put it, around your hairline.
Hold on, if you do it
night.
just with avocado oil with a little bit of Give Me Back My Youth, you could give yourself a mustache.
You could also eat it.
Yeah,
do you know that it tastes so good that some people are eating it just by the spoonful?
I know, because it's so silky smooth and it tastes like the greatest vanilla milkshake you've ever had in your life. And there's benefits. Let's look at some of the benefits.
There's nothing in it, and it tastes really good. Like all these people tell me, you've got to add this sweetener, you've got to add this sugar, and then once it was launched, they're like, okay, we like this without all.
It's like you don't need any of the garbage.
So I want to focus on this, and I want to go to the first bullet and the last bullet.
Oh,
immunity and performance. When I look at this product, my goal, and when I was working on it, my goal was to increase immunity in the body during this war and the stuff we're dealing with our bodies being attacked constantly with different things, whether it's 5G or whether it's different heavy metals that are out in the environment or viruses, bacteria. I wanted to give that immunity a protection and a block so it was sustainable and it would work really hard. And then I wanted the body to perform. And I go back to this and you look at the different things I've worked on. I really want the body to perform at an optimal level so that each one of you guys can be the brilliant people you are. In order to do that, you have to be healthy.
But when you look at performance, people think of athletic performance, collagen and colostrum, especially in this combination.
If you're an athlete like me.
Oh, when I look at you, I think of performing well.
Clayton. Okay, Patrick's saying this is inappropriate.
That was not inappropriate.
Okay. All
but
right.
If we look at performance, this is something that would actually benefit athletes really, really well. to improve sports performance as well as just overall daily performance?
Like I look at performing like I have to perform at work
Yes.
to get stuff done.
Yeah.
I have to perform as a mother, which is even, and I got to tell you, I have struggled with that lately because I have been traveling so much and we've had a lot of company and a lot of stuff going on, and just being present for my children. I fail sometimes. Like I had meetings on Sunday and I didn't get to spend time with my daughter. And it was just, I fail. I want to perform at an optimal. And to do that, I've got to really give my body what I need. And there's so many days I don't, that I forget. And in the middle of the day, I remember, oh my gosh, I didn't take this morning.
And you
yeah.
can see that. You can see the stress, that impacts our lives, whether it's through your skin, whether it's your mood, whether it's your metabolic function, if it's your sleep cycles, if it's your energy cycles. So being able to support all of that helps a lot. There was a question that can teenagers use Give Me Back My Youth?
Oh my goodness, yes.
All ages.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys. So milk's not really great for people as they age. I personally usually do cashew milk. I've tried all the other ones, but cashew is usually my best when I do different things. But if you can actually have the colostrum that most people don't understand what it even is, if you can give your body that, if you can find it, if you can source it, that's extremely good. The issue happened years ago when the colostrum was launched and it was not from pure sources. It was not made the right way. Then people tried to do vegan. They didn't work as well. And so they really kind of scrapped it. And it was almost on the black market, to be honest. We had a good friend, Ani, who I love. She's amazing. Ani said, I had to get it kind of from the black market because I couldn't get it anywhere. So we're extremely happy that this is all above board. This is all registered, and we're giving you guys things that can really support
all
your
the
body.
cleanest sources possible, cruelty free.
And what do I always talk about? That's always my focus that I'm looking at. Antibacterial, antifungal, anti-parasitic.
Next slide.
All those things, antiviral. We got to go to the next group of slides because it's really important that you guys know this was not just about the skin and hair. This was not just about helping people with age. This was, again, a blockade that we really wanted to give people that would help their body do what it naturally needs to do to support itself. And the lactoferrins that are in the colostrum are really important to fight against bacterial infection and fungus. And either they do it directly and indirectly because they really are preventing basically the virus from infecting healthy cells. And that's something I think that is being overlooked by a lot of people. You will find articles on it, but it's really important for people to know that. In fact, I want to go to and Clayton, I know is going to go back to the antimicrobial and the viral invasion, but I want to go to the very bottom bullet. It talks about how the properties of lactoferrin as a natural antibiotic were found in vivo and in vitro. So guys, what that means is in a lab and outside of a lab with human beings and with animals, it showed that it basically inhibited toxic H. pylori. And H. pylori is something that I've worked on with numerous companies. Once you get H. pylori, it's so hard to treat. And I've said this all the time. Of course, we care about the antiviral effects. And you can see from this study and from this slide that this is known to actually help affect the body and protect the body against certain things like that. And I want you to talk more about it in 1 second. But I think for me, because I had worked on H. pylori for so long, and we couldn't find different things that would inhibit this toxic bacteria, and it would kill people so quickly.
Which is in the gut.
Yeah, but it's so bad. And once you have it and it spreads,
it's all bad.
It's like MRSA. It's just horrible. And so it's so fantastic. I think that this is something because when people take Zithromax or they take an antibiotic, which I think when people need it, they have to take it. But it also has all these other things that go along with it. This is something that's very healthy and natural that acts like something like that in a natural way to protect your body.
So if you knew you had an H. pylori issue, would you use a little bit more? Give Me Back My Youth and a teaspoon a day?
Absolutely.
Much like Restore, where you might, instead
It's
of
like
taking
me.
one, you might take 3 to 5.
Most people, and they don't realize this, when you get like colitis or you get diverticulitis or ulcers, you have that there. And it's so hard to basically diagnose it or to pull the H. pylori's. And a lot of times your tests are positive, negative. So it's extremely important. And for me, it's a lifesaver because I have had issues in my stomach. I've traveled to so many countries where I got parasites. The first time I was diagnosed with a parasite, I was 19 years old. It was after I had Lyme disease and I was in the hospital, and I've always had problems since then. So this particular formula, along with Restore and Clean Slate and ReLive Greens,
Are
is
kind
very
of
important.
self-serving.
Yeah, very important to me. But I do want to go back because I thought he was going to talk about it. So with viruses, when there's a systemic immune response to a viral invasion.
Hold on, are we being invaded by
Yeah, I want to
different
explain this
viruses
to
of different
everyone.
kinds?
So if you can inhibit the virus from being systemic and you can basically control what's happening, it's like an army coming in, you're like, stop, I'm going to step up, I'm going to be stronger, then you can really protect the healthy cells and keep the viral load down. And we know that we're all working on that. So while we can't make those claims, I wanted to put on here different things that have happened from different studies because I think it's extremely important for people to know.
And IgG is really important in that.
Yeah, so IgG I talked about earlier. I worked with IgG for years. This is something we've always tried to control or replicate, but the fact that it's naturally in this particular product, in the ingredients, is extremely important.
And there's no way to actually synthesize something and actually and truly make it better than the way nature made it.
Yeah, and I absolutely, but I want to point this out because I don't want to go too quickly through this. I know we're trying to get through a lot. Immunoglobulin G is basically in the body, and it lines the GI tract, and it helps reduce inflammation and helps kill bacterial infections, which goes back to what we saw in the previous slide. But I really wanted to talk to you guys about also immunoglobulin A, because a lot of scientists and doctors don't talk about that. And that's your first line of defense to resist a bacterial or viral adhesion or a basically connection to the epithelial cells. And what that means is if you can neutralize that, so it doesn't adhere to it, it doesn't connect to it, then you basically neutralize the harmful effects of the toxins from bacterial and viral toxins, which is hugely important.
You could think of it as a spike protein that's on a virus that's trying to connect to something, and it's like coming up against a glass wall,
and it can't connect,
and it can't get in. It's trying to get to it, and it just bumps up against it, and it can't lock to it.
Yeah, because once it locks, so when you look at the epithelial cells, and once it goes in, it can go anywhere. So that's why when you talked about, SARS and MERS and all the different things that were part of COVID before this whole last transition, some people got it in their stomach, right? Some people got it in their lungs. It's because it's all connected. So if you look at the second bullet, it talks about how there's numerous studies with infants and adults that have shown this prevents not just in the GI, but in the upper respiratory infection and LPS-induced inflammation. And what that means is it's basically cutting off that inflammation throughout the different body parts and the organs and the cell communication of that, which is, again, extremely important, you guys, to us trying to live healthy and be the best we can be.
So the colostrum supporting respiratory and GI, and your immune system is supporting both, but also the regenerative lining of your lungs.
Yeah.
And your gut.
That's extremely.
It's crucial, especially in this environment where due to fungal exposure, overgrowth, and you need to protect your lungs and your gut.
And
God knows I have.
Well, yeah, I've had so many people say, well, you guys have these products, but people still keep getting sick. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, the problem is you have all these different mutations, right, of what's been going on. And then we still have other viruses and colds and allergies going on. And the problem is once your body is completely under attack and then you get better, it still has some of the weakness of the previous, what it's gone through. And because there's so many things going on, you have to protect your body. It doesn't mean you won't get sick. And I say this a lot. It means that when you do, that you give your body naturally things to really support it. And then once you keep going through these upgrades, it will get better and better. But I have noticed, I want to be completely upfront with people, that throughout the world, there's another kind of comeback of what's going on. I don't want people to be stressed about it. I want people to understand we just have to keep building the blockades to really protect our body so we can be healthier. So the next slide is going to be about glycine.
Oh,
And I never saw, I'm embarrassed because I don't pronounce word.
glycine.
Glycine. I have a speech impediment, so Clayton loves me anyway.
I love it when you talk to me.
Glycine we talked about earlier, but we're going to point out to you guys that it really is important to basically protect the body because of the amino acids that are involved. And some bacterial infections, they basically are caught, they have to have this component basically. So if you can use an excess of this to basically stop it, then you can really help your body. It's almost like an antiseptic. So, when you guys get hurt, you may put alcohol or hydrogen peroxide or different things on your scab or your wound to get better. This is kind of a natural thing that inhibits the body from continuing to grow the bacteria.
So, and it's the glycine that's one of the major components of collagen.
Yes.
So it makes up, as you can see on the bottom, that one, it helps to prevent the spread of viruses by strengthening the extracellular matrix. So when collagen is taken and it's broken down, collagen is made up highly of glycine, which is then converted into the body into that extracellular tissue that gives the protective mechanism.
Yeah, because, and that's why people say to me, does your product have protein? Absolutely. Like, this is full of protein and your body has to have protein to really fight things. You've got to have that energy in the body to really protect the cells that are good and get rid of the things that are bad. And I think it's hugely important. People need to understand that this is packed full of protein and packed full of different kinds of components of the amino acids that really protect the body.
But used in combination with ReLive, with the greens and Restore, then you're getting a massive, broad array of ideally sourced aminos and other molecular compounds that, when combined together, amplify their effects for regeneration, recovery, immune function, and such.
Yes. Yeah, but I said this in the beginning, this could be a standalone for people that are doing other things, but really when used with the other products.
I mean, you could build a company just on that.
On this one. I mean, the very fact that it's in this and it has the dosing it has, just comparing it to any other company and what's in it, you could build a company around just this one. And I think I told everyone, we thought about that. We thought about just going
direct to pharmacies.
Yeah. And then we decided, no, we need to make sure we have it for the root community. We were all very, I think, on the same page when it came to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to proline, we've already talked about this from the anti-aging perspective and hydroxyproline. These really, again, help inhibit, they help block, and they help inhibit the viral loads from growing. It's really simple. When I worked on HIV, you've got to keep the viral load down. I say this a lot. HIV is not horrible. It's when it becomes AIDS that it's so horrible. So you've really got to create these blockades, and you've got to release the different things the body doesn't need and support and optimize what it needs. And that's really what these dual roles do with these two specific ingredients that are in our product.
And AIDS is really simple. It's just an acquired immune deficiency syndrome.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
Whatever you're doing, that's knocking your immune system down. If you knock your immune system down enough, you acquire AIDS.
Yes.
And if you can regenerate and rebuild, and as you said, knock down the viral load because of your lack of immune system, if you knock down the viral load, you improve immune function, you help that regenerate, you no longer have AIDS.
When you get HIV, they don't just diagnose you with AIDS.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, because you have the viral load.
Yes, you have your viral load, but in this environment, many people are becoming familiar with other ways of knocking down your immune system. That if you do that enough, if you do it 3 or 4 times, you basically have AIDS because you've knocked your immune system down. And it's the regeneration process of removing a lot of what's caused those issues and then working to restore your gut, your immune system to come back. And I think a key thing in this environment with what many people's concerns have been, the body has the ability to completely regenerate. Do you agree?
The body does, if you can give the body what it needs.
If it has what it needs.
Well, if you look at, like, when you see certain, like, lizards, you cut the tail off, the chameleons, and the tail will grow back.
Yeah.
There's different components that we have that can do that, but we just have to tap into them. But I'm not I'm not saying.
We're not
that I'm
going to talk about
I'm
lizards
not
on
doing
this show.
that. No, I said that. I'm not doing that. I just said.
Shayla, move on.
Is Shayla doing the slide deck?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I thought it was Patrick. Now this makes sense because Shayla's trying to make sure we get through the slide. So we're talking about reversal of aging, which we started with. I have to say, Jayla and Tiger worked a lot on these slides, and for some reason, and I have no idea why, because they're in their 20s, they're worried as much about aging as I am. But most of the women on this show will understand that. And most of the men should too.
If you looked 20, why would you want to get older and look 50? Would you not
This isn't
take
even
care of
about
yourself?
the way we look. It's about the way the cells are inside the body.
Oh, you're telling me women don't care how they look?
They do care, but I'm saying from a scientific perspective, I care, not just because of what I look like or other people look like, but because of what happens to the cells as you age.
But we are also a hologram and a reflection of what goes on inside. So if you're toxic inside and you're not healthy, it's going to express outside. So the beauty of taking care of yourself inside is going to be expressed externally.
That's right.
So I was right.
So this study talks about collagen and reverse aging effects of collagen, which I know everyone loves to hear. It was a meta-analysis. I say this a lot when I do talks with Dory. I love meta-analysis because it looks at different types of people in different studies. And this one had a total of 1,125 participants. Everyone be happy. It was between the ages of 20 and 70. So we will be addressing women of all ages in this. And they looked at the favorable results of hydrolyzed collagen supplements. And I want to say this, I just want to just say one more time that we have some of the best collagen you can ever get anywhere. And we made it in a way and in a process that is proprietary and other people do not have. Based on the results of this meta-analysis, they ingested it for 90 days. Now, I would argue you'll see results like I said in 30 days, but it reduced the skin aging, it reduced wrinkles, and it improved the skin elasticity and hydration. So the before and after pictures were amazing after 90 days. So guys, take a picture before you do this. Take a picture at 30 days, take a picture at 60 days, take a picture of 90 days. I want to have some of you guys on stage in Cyprus and on university showing your pictures and talking about how this helped you. The next one is reversive aging of collagen, and it talks about collagen peptides from bovine bone on skin age. And this was with mice. But if you look at this again, you're going to see that they found in the study, and they gave them anywhere, different dosing, 200, 400, 800. And they were the little mice, 13-month females. But if you look at the intake and what happened in the skin, they noticed, regardless of dosing, that they really saw quantitatively that it was doing much better as far as skin. And what I want to add this chronological age process. So guys, this particular ingredient, if it was sourced in the right way, was able to quantitatively and qualitatively, statistically, really combat the skin age. So your chronological age process basically was not as fast because of using this product. So it means slower aging.
So what you're saying is there is chronological age, which is the time that we're here. Mm-hmm. Biological age is the time your body ages along your chronology.
Yes.
So it's slowing down your actual biological aging process, which the Trinity on its own has been shown to decrease biological age very significantly as well. So the combination would be great. One non sequitur.
And you know what? It's funny because you can ask me and then I want to talk about something else, performance.
Why are my studies important?
Oh, my studies are important because the closest DNA to ours is mouse DNA. So when I worked on human monoclonal antibodies, we used murine, which is mouse DNA. So it's really important because you can do really great studies and see how that's impacting them. And that's why a lot of times it's not just because they're mice and they're not significant at all. In fact, Clayton knows this. There was a mouse that died in our bathroom and I cried for like 4 hours. I love little mice. I think they're so cute. And I just can't stand seeing anything die. But mice are the best way to really see the response that you're going to get from an efficacy and safety perspective. And of course, sometimes they move on to beagles and apes and stuff like that. But I think it's really important to show that, this was looked at and they saw a significant difference in how people were doing because of the collagen. And then of course now the colostrum. And I just have to point out, so women care what they look like, men care about performance.
Yes. And
They do. I'm just being
and
honest.
our performance sometimes pertains to how women look.
Okay, we're not going there. When I'm talking performance, men a lot of times are performing at work. They're performing financially to support their family. They're performing in every area. Men, typically, not all men, but a lot of men love sports. I love sports. I'm a female.
Everything is competition.
Everything's competition. That's what I was going to say. And I don't think, for me, everything's not competition, but I do think with men, they really care about how they perform overall in every area of their life. And what's interesting is the bovine colostrum. It showed that it really helped with the different serum levels, and it helped during training so that people were able to perform at a more effective rate and higher rate. What?
I love to compete.
That's right.
Ted said he loves to compete. So, and I know, we've tried different things like whey protein and everything, but it's much better to do the collagen and colostrum than to use other things like that.
Because
So-
the whey protein, they're taking a protein isolate out of milk, but colostrum is the precursor to milk production. So you're getting all the key stuff up front without any of the bad. You're getting the purest, most impactful components of what you need for, I'm a stickler for spelling. Like, we're good at pronunciation.
Yeah,
and when I see like spelling errors, it just gets me. Jayla.
Well, this is not, in her defense, there were 3 decks and we merged them together because we were going to do 3 separate. So the first one you guys saw, was going to be the first deck, but I said, we're going to get this out there today, and then we'll go back and I'll spend more time on the research. So,
But you know what's really important?
Sorry about the spelling error.
This study wasn't done in Canada, Pat.
I was gonna say something, and I kept my mouth shut. I know that you don't like spelling errors. We all know. I made one in the newsletter.
Yeah.
Let's just point out that I make spelling errors and I can't pronounce words.
Thank
So
you,
every time
Dr. Rahm.
someone tries to act like they're perfect, I want to say, are you perfect?
You're
No.
making errors.
I
great
get
again.
so tired of people criticizing everyone. We have to all embrace each other, whether we make mistakes or not, which you make mistakes every day.
Absolutely. I'm a living error. I wasn't saying it was a terrible thing. I'm just saying that we should identify it. We should laugh at it. We should move on.
It's probably Tiger, not Jayla.
Probably.
Let's blame it on Leslie. This is the first time she's here today. It's her fault. She should have reviewed it. Or Tiffany Preston, she should have reviewed it.
Tiffany.
Don't blame it on poor Leslie.
It was my fault.
Don't blame it on poor Leslie her first day.
Right.
I'm just gonna drag her into this.
Throw them all in the mud.
Right.
So we have to get through this deck because you've got doctors here, actually, Clay. We're going to go on to the collagen effects of the autoimmune disease. I'm teasing autoimmune diseases. So you guys, anyone that knows me know I've studied autoimmune diseases my entire life. And I just look at the T cell mediated autoimmune diseases because when I worked in the pharmaceutical industry, which don't hate me because I did that because it's helped me do things here even better. But we always looked at the disease and we would look at different models. I did a lot with rheumatoid arthritis because when you have psoriasis, a lot of times you also have rheumatoid arthritis or lupus. They like tag each other, right? Also with HIV, there was information that came out that we started understanding if you create a vaccine or an antiviral that gives someone rheumatoid arthritis, they won't necessarily get HIV. The problem that happened was that then people would get rheumatoid arthritis and it would be so bad because rheumatoid arthritis can actually be extremely painful. And I just want to point this out. This was a randomized double-blind trial involving 60 patients with severe active rheumatoid arthritis. And any of you guys that know someone that has it knows that you're so sore and tender. When I got Lyme disease, I was actually diagnosed with it and they told me it wouldn't get better. Thankfully, I'm on these products and I've gotten a lot better. But when they looked at this, and they even used the chicken type 2 collagen, which we looked
Which
at.
is a
but
cheaper version.
yeah, it's a cheaper version. It's not as good as what we ended up choosing. I did one, and I've explained to you guys where I used all the different collagens even together. But this one that we launched was much better and much more expensive.
Yeah.
But it was important to us to launch the best one. But the subjects that were fed the collagen for 3 months versus the ones that weren't, there's a huge difference. 4 patients in the collagen group had complete remission of the disease with no side effects, which is almost unheard of. Even when you give someone a rheumatoid arthritis human monoclonal antibody, which is an IV or an injection, you do not see remission of the disease. So the very fact that there was remission is really, really important.
But we do.
Yeah. So we're going to go.
Jayla seems to be drawing. on
No,
the
it's someone
screen.
else. It could be someone else. We're going to go on to the next slide.
It wasn't me.
You guys are being exposed to the whole root corporate office today, at least by voices. So let's go into the next one because we're talking about colostrum effects on autoimmune diseases. And we want to really go into the mirroring model that we discussed earlier. I just want to bring out one point. The results of the colostrum fed group in this particular study, if you look at it, they also went in and they looked at the inflammatory cytokine tumor necrosis factor, which is something we always looked at with rheumatoid arthritis. The results in this study strongly suggested that colostrum from the immunized cows may have anti-inflammatory activity in a mouse model. Why does that matter? It matters because you want to look at induced arthritis mirroring models. We're going to get more into this later when we get into the research, but let's just say this. The fact that the colostrum fed group had significant lower scores and swelling is significantly important. And I would argue, which is one of the things I want to look at, is that if they weren't immunized, how much better would it have been? Not that I'm trying to get, I don't want to get.
If the cows hadn't been immunized.
Yeah, but I don't want to get into that whole debate right now.
That's a fun issue, but we also know what the benefits are of the Trinity in dealing with some of those inflammatory issues. So adding in something like Give Me Back My Youth into that already has its proven factors with 2 ingredients. Hold on. Did I make it clear enough? 2 ingredients. It takes 2. Rob Bass said it best. It takes 2.
They don't know that song. You should sing it to him on the Instagram.
Everyone should know Rob Bass.
Okay, well, not everyone does. So this is the collagen effect on GI. And again, I'm sorry that we're going through it so quickly. We wanted you guys to be able to see the data. We do know that collagen is definitely something that supports the GI, right? There's so many dysfunctions in your intestinal wall and in the barrier. And we all know that, again, your TNA factors and the induction of different factors are extremely important. And I don't want to get too much into all the science behind it.
Did you say TNF?
TNFA.
Okay. You said TNA, and then Pat got really excited.
TNA.
TNFA.
Okay.
TNF alpha.
Not today, Clay.
Not today. I don't know what that means.
Don't. Not today.
Let's not do this. Okay. So basically, I just want to point this out. It induced a barrier dysfunction that was significantly changed by the collagen and its peptides. So we'll get into that more. But what you have to do is, again, you have to stop that epithelial barrier from being attached. And you've got to form kind of like Clayton said, like a wall, so that you're protecting your GI. And when you protect your GI, you're also protecting the lining of the heart. You're also protecting the brain, the skin, hair, and nails. Again, your skin is your largest organ. You're basically doing this induced barrier that really helps throughout the body.
You just hit on something that was really important because we talk about a leak. If you have a leaky gut, you have a leaky brain, right? Because the blood-brain barrier
and
is
you
so
want to
important.
tighten the junctions, which is what this is talking about. You have to enhance the tightening so you produce this blockade so that then you're providing a protective wall.
So if you have a leaky gut, you have a leaky brain. And if you have a leaky brain and a leaky gut, give me back my brain.
Getting back my youth is an important factor. And we're going to keep talking about GI because, again, the GI is this whole alignment, which we always talk about. Okay, we've got these barriers, we have these alignments. We're a matrix, right? We're a grid. It's really important that we're protecting that. The next one talks about something I'm very close to because my family has colitis.
Mhm.
And you know how many times I've had negative effects from that. A part of mine is because I did get parasites at a young age. I had Lyme disease, and then I was exposed to more parasites in other countries. So I would have this inflammatory bowel disease and diarrhea. I'm bringing this up to you guys because I know there's a lot of people out there that have this, that don't talk about this. I also know as we age, it's a problem. And we know now, especially because of all the different injections that kids are having and adults are having, this has caused it to be even worse. And I said this when all of this stuff started happening. I'm not just worried about viruses, I'm worried about bacteria,
Mhm.
parasites, and fungus. And so, you know, treating different things with the GI, you're always looking at like your H. pylori, you're looking at your E. coli. I've worked on a lot of probiotics and prebiotics, but I would argue collagen and colostrum are equally or more important than pro and prebiotics.
Because you're creating the lining and you're actually creating the environment that those prebiotics and probiotics can actually function in.
Yes, and I think, well, there's studies that showed that the collagen and the colostrum can actually help with the pathogenesis. And what that means is they can actually help with the progression and the pathology and stopping that of a particular virus, fungus, or bacteria. And it's extremely important in what we're going to. So I want to point out one of the reasons that I did choose the bovine that I chose and made it the way I made it is to really go in and provide this barrier so that it would not get in and you couldn't allow different things to come in from the outside that were environmental factors, and then also to protect and optimize. So you would smooth the joints out in the stomach. And I say joints because, you know, the muscle in the joint in the stomach,
Yep.
we never talk about that. We should spend a whole lesson on that. It's not just the joints and the muscles in your arms. You have them in your heart, you got them in your brain, you got them in the stomach, and we've got to protect all that.
So the second paragraph goes in animal models, the bovine colostrum, bovine, benefits NSAID enteropathy, which, so painkillers, NSAIDs are like Tylenol, which many people take, right? Advil and such. Those are NSAIDs.
Yeah.
And they're very bad for your gut. They damage your gut. Irritable bowel disease. And there was one other one, as J-Lo wants to jump ahead of me on. And intestinal failure, that the human trials, hold on.
Too hard on Jay.
We're human. No, she's doing good. She's making sure we get through this, that there's substantial evidence of efficacy of bovine colostrum in inflammatory bowel disease and infectious diarrhea, that the bovine colostrum is helping the regeneration of the gut to eliminate some of those issues. Even with NSAIDs, and many people damage their gut from the use of painkillers and need support, but also, as you mentioned, the intestinal issues and irritable bowel disease. So if you have any aspects of irritable bowel, even if you're on a colostomy bag, this is going to be extremely helpful.
Well, and yeah, we want to go more into that, which we could spend a whole session on this. If you look at the bone weight and how the control group and interleukin, like you look at interleukin 18, 8, 10, if you look at those with bovine colostrum, you really see that it helped, that it can help really produce that and heal the body.
So we've got a bunch
And
of
we can't make the
references.
claim to heal, but I'm just letting people know.
Well, the body
And
does
also
it.
help the body lose weight, because when your stomach is inflamed,
What?
what should be in your stomach?
Are you saying that negative inflammation causes weight gain?
Yeah, there it is. Showed a reduction in body weight, BMI loss.
So hold on.
And that's why a lot of
What?
the companies take that and they try to use their collagen and
Dr. Rahm, what are you saying? That
But
weight
they-
loss is not just about fat, it's actually about negative inflammation?
absolutely 100%.
Did you hear that?
And also about stress, so don't stress me out anymore.
Oh. So
So this,
happy wife, happy life.
so Give Me Back My Youth is a formula, as I just put that down, that was really important to me and to Root to give to people. And I want to point out for all of you guys that asked for the cruelty free, I finally got that approval, as well as I was given even additional information on how the animals are treated. Growing up on a farm, that was really important to me.
They're massaged daily. They get walked. They get little bits of beer. Oh, wait a minute. Those are Japanese cows. That's Wagyu
They're
beef.
not
Sorry.
getting beer.
They're not getting beer and massages.
So anyway,
Sign me up to be a Japanese cow, by the way. I don't, the slaughtering part, I'm cool with in the end. You give me beer and massages every day.
you don't even drink beer, Clayton.
I know, but still, they're
Okay.
calm, they're relaxed.
And you can't sit still for a massage. So I mean,
I have my blue glasses on. I did pretty good.
you did pretty good.
Oh, and I'm with you.
So I want to thank everyone for today. I want to really thank the Root corporate office that did a lot of this work, Jayla and Tiger. Special thanks to Patrick and Ted and Stephanie and Tiffany. Dory, hopefully she'll be on the next one. We have so many things we have to do, but please keep any pictures that you have. I'd love for you guys to keep a diary on how you feel once you start this product, because it's amazing.
You can journal and do some videos talking about yourself to yourself.
I don't talk about myself to myself.
I know.
That's a Clayton thing.
But you can also take a bunch of photos of yourself. You know, there's a
People
time
like
in my
being
life
focused.
where we used to call them selfies.
Ted,
I'm not sure what they call them now.
we're off because we have to go to the next thing. But I want to tell you guys, this was fast and I apologize.
Furious. Right.
We wanted you guys to have it because we should have done it before. Much love to you guys. I see so many beautiful faces on this call, and it's so thankful that we're all on this together. We will go back, dial it back, and I'll spend more time next time on each topic, but I just wanted to get this out so you guys could see it.